Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and in today's video I'm going to be talking to you about you deserve to be a priority. Well, if you decide to get into an exclusive relationship, it means that you understand that the person that you're going to be dating has needs and you have needs, and both of you need to make a real effort to prioritize those needs. There's no reason to get exclusive with somebody if you're not going to meet their needs, or stay in a relationship with somebody who's not going to make a real effort to try and meet your needs. Because if that happens, you're likely going to hurt and you're going to suffer over it, because you're going to be frustrated and disappointed, and if you suppress those feelings, it could really have a big impact on you in the long run. So ideally, you want to get into a relationship with somebody who's ready to meet your needs and that you're willing to do the same for them. You're going to that relationship to give to each other and really try and be there for each other. If you're not able to do that, one of you is not able to do that, then there's no reason to stay in the relationship. Sometimes things happen in life where one of the people can't continue to do the relationship. And we're going to see an example of that today in this email coaching that I have for you guys. But just remember that when you're in a relationship, you need to be able to look at your partner's needs and do your best to prioritize them. Now, that doesn't mean you ignore your own needs. There's got to be a balance. And when you become more secure and confident, it helps you to get to that place. Like when you're doing the workbooks in the Creative Healing course, it takes a look at a lot of those things about being a priority and understanding needs of each other to have a well-balanced connection. Because quite frankly, what's the point of having your ex come back if you can't be a good partner for them? They'll just leave again. Or what's the point of getting into a new relationship if you don't know how to be a good partner? So it's really important that you understand these things before you date and get into commitments, because it will just wind up hurting other people or yourself. So today's email coaching is from a couple in their early 50s. Okay? Now he said that they met in the spring of 2021. They both had gotten divorced in 2019. So that looks like they probably had around 2 years of being single or out of that marriage before they started dating again. That's a good amount of time. I mean, of course, every situation is different. I mean, I don't know if they were married for 40 years or 30 years or something. That would be a lot harder than maybe if they were married for 10 or 15 years, right? But a lot of different things can come up, like how the marriage was, how great the marriage was, how poor it was, how long they had been disconnected from it. So a lot of different things come up. But 2 years is a good amount of time, I think, to come out of a marriage to be ready to date again. Okay? So, the woman in this situation has two sons that are a bit older. Let's say they're late teenagers, okay? And he has a son that's also a teenager. They live about 45 minutes away from each other, but they still were able to see each other 2 to 3 times a week. It's a good amount of times to see each other. I mean, we're both, looking at adults here, older, and of course they have to prioritize their careers. So I say 2 or 3 times a week is great. He said, we had a loving, affectionate, and strong relationship. The past few months, we were arguing frequently. We would have a great day and then fight over trivial things at the end of the night. Well, could be because they were tired, long day, you get tired, you get irritable. One thing that I remember learning back in grad school is that when people are tired or sick or hungry, they're often really grumpy. So late at night, could be getting tired, could be leading to arguments. He says, I have an anxious attachment style and started to feel like I was more invested in the relationship than she was. I never accused her of anything, but I started to worry as our relationship got rocky. She was starting to believe that I didn't trust her. Well, there probably was an element of mistrust in there, and that could have not necessarily been about cheating, but about abandonment, that you were afraid she was going to abandon you. Okay? 2 months ago, her eldest son was detained by authorities while FBI agents served warrants to her house and her ex-husband's. Wow. So that would be kind of a big deal. All of a sudden, her oldest son is detained by the FBI. That's some scary stuff, right? Who knows what this kid is doing? He is currently, I guess we're going to find out in the next sentence. He is currently under investigation for drug trafficking. The FBI found nothing in her home. 2 days before the breakup, she told me her son had committed to a local hospital for evaluation after he had a total breakdown. All right, so think about this. We've got her son has now been arrested by the FBI or being detained or whatever, investigated, whatever's going on there. It's serious. Now he's having a breakdown and he's in a hospital. So imagine being a parent and watching your child go through that. Even if they're doing something wrong, you're still going to be really worried about them. The night before the breakup, we got into a big argument. The following morning, we talked over coffee and then I drove home. I messaged her that afternoon and asked her if she wanted to meet at a restaurant halfway between us to get something to eat. She declined, saying she was deep into cleaning to get through the stress of the day. 2 hours later, she sent me this text message. Honey, you know this isn't working. I think you can probably agree that something is just off between us, and I want to be fair to you, because I need to focus all of my energy on noodles and doodles. That's what I'm calling her son and her ex-husband. Noodles and doodles. I need to focus all my energy on noodles and doodles to get them through the next stage of this hellstorm that we're in the middle of. Okay, so there's a few things going on there. Obviously, the stress of what's going on with noodles and doodles, and as he had been pushing to get a stronger connection with her, it probably made her realize that she wasn't as invested as he was, and that the dynamic was off, that he was right, that there was something going on there. But this kind of exasperated all of that, and it kind of exposed it as well. I don't want to get to a point where we hate each other and say awful things to each other. I want to look back on all the great times that we had together and know that we had love and tried the best we could to make it work. Well, that feels authentic to me. She sees that she's going to be stressed. She's going to make noodles and doodles her priority. She's feeling disconnected from this guy already. She knows he's going to pressure her for more than she's willing to give or can give because she wants to focus on her son. I'm sure that's the main focus. And she just sees it's not going to go well. I know we need to talk, but I wanted to get all of this out in writing because I don't think I could say it without crying. You deserve to be someone's priority. And I don't want to stand in the way of you finding that. So it's time to say goodbye so we both can figure out what is next on our own paths. Let me know when you feel you're ready to talk. I mean, that hurts to hear. It really hurts to hear. And maybe if she had been in a stronger connection with him, she would have probably said, you know what? I know that we're going through some stuff right now, but I really love you. I want to be with you. But because her interest level had probably dropped, that's why she's kind of taking this time to say, yep, it's not working. I don't have the energy to make it work. I have to focus on these other things. My son's my priority. I'm afraid of what's going to happen with him. And so she's not able to make you a priority. And I think she's being honest. And it's a tough situation because, you know, what are you going to say? No, it's okay. I'll be okay being in the back seat. She's going to know you don't really mean that because of how you were acting and getting upset before all of that happened. And I think she's just going to know that it's just kind of painful, and maybe she's not going to have the energy to even think about that connection or commitment at this time. Okay, so he says, I pushed back a little, but did not beg or plead when we talked. We got a little emotional, and I told her that I'd be okay. I went directly into no contact. 6 days later, she messaged me to say hello and that she hoped I was okay, and that it had been hard not to text or call. So that's nice, because at least you hear that she's struggling with it, that she isn't just focusing completely on noodles and doodles and forgotten all about you. No, she's saying it's hard. So that would make you feel at least a little bit better about the whole thing, that at least you're important to her. He says, I replied the next day, hi, I'm doing well, just staying busy. I hope you are too. That's kind of like a nothing text, right? Because that's not really, that kind of text doesn't go anywhere. It's like one of those surface level texts that doesn't really get you feeling connected to somebody. The next day, I received emails from the airlines. She canceled my flight for a trip we had planned in January. I texted to confirm. She said, yes, sorry. She suggested we meet for dinner and exchange belongings. We met 2 days later for dinner, but she was closed off. At the end, we hugged and I wished her well. Did I mess things up with my response to her first messages after the breakup? Okay. I don't think you did any damage based on what you told me. This situation isn't really about how you handled things. If anything, it was how things went prior to the incident with her husband and her son, or ex-husband and her son, that you guys were starting to argue more at the end of the days, and something was going on there. Maybe she knew she wasn't making you a priority maybe already. So I think it's not so much how you handled yourself after the breakup. And I don't think you did anything that would dissuade her from reaching out if she really felt like she could. I think this situation is really about her son and her ex-husband and whatever is going on there. Now, I don't know if it's mostly about the son. That's the idea that I got here. But she's probably going to have more contact with the ex-husband at this point because they have a son together. He's going through issues. Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe he's going to wind up in prison. There's going to probably be a long drawn out court case. And so that's her focus. That's her priority. She knows she can't make you a priority. This is her priority. And so I know you're probably beating yourself up and looking at everything you did wrong here. But, you know, this is mostly about watching her child go through a really serious issue, problem, set of problems, legal battles. I mean, nobody wants to see their kid being investigated by the FBI and, you know, who knows what is going on there. It's so early to say. So, obviously, if it turns around with the son and it gets to a place where he is not in any issues and he's doing okay and she feels like he's okay, I think she's going to be more likely to be able to prioritize a commitment or repairing things with you. So that's going to have to play out however it's going to play out, and you can't interfere. You just got to let her be, and if she wants to come to you and talk with you or open up to you and, you know, vent to you and maybe see you, then you take it from there. But I would not do anything to put any pressure on her because she's already going through enough with noodles and doodles, okay? So, leave her be. Don't worry about how you handle the breakup. It's not really about that. If anything, figure out what you can do to decrease any arguing with her if you guys got back together again in the future. Figure out what was bothering you there and how to improve in those areas. Do those workbooks 30 minutes a day. They're going to make a huge difference. And obviously she'll see a big turnaround in you and in your ability to be there for her and show up as a partner if you do those workbooks, because they're going to really improve your skill level and it'll help spark an attraction, a connection with you again, if once she starts contacting you again. But let's see how it goes with the sun, and if that gets better, then she might be able to prioritize you again. Okay? So, hopefully this has been helpful to you guys. Of course, if you want to get my help personally, just go to my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and I will talk with you soon.